Yo, so I have another video for you guys. This is me reacting to Akademiks and more rappers jumping on the podcast bandwagon. Let's see what Akademiks has to say about this. Yep.
Chat, the rap game is completely cooked. Rap game is completely cooked. There's a new podcast that got announced. It's called Let's Rap About It by Mano, Fabulous, and Dave East. They're dropping a podcast. I think this is going to be a weekly podcast, and you see it here. Mano, Fabulous, Jim Jones, and Dave East. Chat, I got to keep it a bean with y'all. There ain't no money in music left. These rappers, the only thing as musicians they get from it is a cool factor. I remember when, and I know this is my first Drake reference to the stream, so forgive me. You know when Drake says, it's really 1% of us getting the money. The rest of these niggas is broke. Maybe Jay said that, but I think Drake also requoted it. That's true. There's literally, I think it's less now. It's not 1% getting the money. It's 0.1% getting the money. There is.
I agree with Akademiks there. I agree. I'm gonna give you my rendition of what he's saying. Well, back in the days, you know, we got like 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. There was money in hip hop. I remember there was money, but it weren't everybody getting the money. You had to be really big to be getting the big money. You have to be like the Jay-Z's, but even the Jay-Z's, the way the game is designed is to keep the artist in debt. It ain't for them to win. If you win, they're upset. They find some way to drag you back in. It gives you advances, 360 deals, but it's designed to keep the artist in extreme debt. So you're always indebted to them. So they always relinquish money off of you. Reason why I say that is because people like Jay-Z, he started to see that no matter how much he sold, no matter how big he was always in debt. And the only way to come out of the debt is to be the label yourself. So you make a little mini label, you make like Rockefeller, and then you get people underneath you, and you're the big boss. And then they're in debt to you, then they pay off your debts. You see how it works? That's what I envision. I could be wrong. Because when I remember seeing what Jay-Z was doing, I was like, so he makes a label. And the label itself was like Rockefeller. It was almost as big as Def Jam. Def Jam was kind of like dying. It had like legacy artists on there like Redman and Method Man. But it was almost dying. You know, you start to see it fade away a bit, but it's almost as big as Def Jam. They had Jay-Z spearheading the label. He would feature, and you know, a Jay-Z feature, that's like gold. Exactly. And then you got your Def Jam, which, you know, it started to fade away. You know, people like Redman and Meth Man, they've left that place a long time ago. Def Jam's a shadow of its former self. Other labels of that, they surpassed it now. That was like 2000s and something like that. And yeah, you know, what I was trying to get at is that there isn't really that many artists making really big money back then. And even now it's worse, because I remember Joe Budden, he was like their new spearhead artist. The guy can rap, he was dope. But was he selling? Nah, he weren't selling. He weren't selling enough to recoup. I remember he was like, oh yeah, so people like, so why are you forming this group called Slaughterhouse? He said, I need to make some money. So I was like, whoa, I'm thinking of stuff like, he made no money on Def Jam? He never made no money on Def Jam. Not enough. You know, not enough to recoup and live a good life. So that's why he said he came up with Slaughterhouse, and you know, they did okay. Eminem was trying his best with them, but then they split up. But at that time, during these times, Joe Budden was kind of putting his feet into what I call what Akademiks is doing, what he's done now, which is like kind of podcasting, but kind of reality vlogging. And yeah, that was like early 2000s. I remember I followed Joe Budden from a long time ago. Long time ago. He was doing what they're doing on YouTube beforehand. That's why he got himself punched in the face, because he was talking while he was still rapping. You can't rap and then talk bad about people. Now he's sitting down there in his New York apartment. He goes there, he chats all sorts of rubbish about people. No one can come and punch him in the face because he ain't going to be on stage with them. That's all I need to say. But as for these guys are like OGs now. Mano, Hustle, Fabulous. Like Fabulous, he had a good run. He still has a good fan base, considering what's been going on in Fabulous's life for the past couple of years. Jim Jones, that's my opinion. I'm gonna let
There's
Akademiks
no more money
talk.
in rap for the casual rapper, and I'm not disrespecting these guys, okay? But I want to tell you that rappers are realizing that they have platforms, and they have these other things that is more monetizable than them making music. If you told me that Fabulous, Jim Jones, Mano, and Dave East, if you told me that they were together, I'd be like, oh my God, they're making like some type of four-way greatest New York rapper things. Shit, they're gonna sell some shit, go on tour. Bruv, there's no more money in music. Unless like you're YB.
I mean, when Akademiks is talking, like these guys are OGs now. I mean, no one's listening to Fabulous now. Like a whole generation has passed. It's like 20 years passed since Fabulous was in his peak. Like what he came up early 2000s. That's when he was really hitting hard. Jim Jones as well. These guys are OGs now. They're like granddads of hip hop. So the young generation, they ain't listening to these guys. They're like sitting down with their walking sticks chatting about rappers now. This is what they're gonna be doing. It's all black and white now. It's like olden days. It's crazy, man. Is there any music? Is there any money in rap for these guys? Unless there are people listening to their back catalogue right now, which everything's streaming. Can they command big money on tours? Fabulous probably could. I think 15, 25, but I'm looking at 4 of them. I'm thinking like that. I'm thinking logistics wise of how everything's going to break down money. There's 4 of these guys. They have to rent the studio out. There's an editor. There's a cameraman. I'm like thinking like YouTube monetization, they will need to get millions of views in order for this to be profitable. Akademiks is sitting in his damn mama's house right now. If he gets 500,000 views in this video or 70,000 views, it ain't nothing for him. There's just one dude chopping up the videos for him. It ain't that expensive for just a one-man team. No, he's not like a one-man team, but he does the video, someone chops up the video for him and uploads it. It's that simple. These are 4 dudes sitting in the studio. I'm just thinking to myself like, unless the output, well, I'm gonna see how it works, because I see, and also I'm thinking about in terms of, I'm gonna put it, oversaturation. So you got the Joe and Jada, that's going on. Cameron and Mace has their one, and I'm thinking like, and then you got Joe Budden's podcast. It's like all these old school rappers are jumping to podcasting now. It's like it might become a point where there's like an oversaturation of this, to a point where you just sit down there and be like, I mean, I think even T.I. had one back in the days. Yeah, maybe oversaturation could be a problem when there's too many of the same thing, and these things don't always work out when it comes to money. Not saying that these OG rappers are gonna flop when it comes to a podcast, because there's four of them, and their fan bases combined might be able to make something work. And it also gives Jim Jones a platform to argue with Cameron. Instead of him just posting videos here and there, he could just monetize these arguments and these beefs back and forth. So the old heads would be like, hey, these guys are arguing again. And they're the old heads. That's what I call them, old heads. You have to be like, what, in your 30s, late 30s, 40s, to know these guys really and come up with their music. And yeah, these guys probably in their 50s, what? Like Maze, Cameron, Diddy. So yeah, they're gonna be. I don't know. I may be wrong about the oversaturation of this. Could be wrong. I could be chatting out my ass. But yeah, you need to have. It's just too many, you know. And I think maybe they looked at Joe Budden doing well. They got the Joe Budden's bug, and say, whoa, he's getting like $1 million a month. I don't think he's making $1 million a month. I think he just put that out there as a joke. And they're like, man, we need to get some of that money. Could be wrong.
Unless you're like the Drakes, there's no money for the middle order guys. It is complete famine mode, Chad. I'm keeping a bean with y'all.
It's Akademiks right about these guys. I mean, these guys have reached their peak. All four of them. Like the days when these guys were doing like platinum, those were years ago. They have a fan base, and they feed that fan base with music, but they ain't really on the levels of Drake, Youngboy, Central C. These guys kind of appeal to a younger audience. That's why you see Drake jumping into streams with Kai, because he wants to appeal to a younger audience. He don't want to die. He wants to stay young forever. That's what Drake wants to be. He wants to be young forever. So he's trying to stay in the young. That's why he's collaborating with Central C, because Drake he's getting old, but he still wants to maintain and get that younger audience. But these guys, man, they ain't even bother. You ever seen Fabulous pop into a Kai stream? I could be wrong. He might have popped in there. Ray J's popped in, but Ray J, he looked like he trying to jumping into the YouTube podcasting himself. Cause like that's the future now. These guys have a sizable fan base and they're trying to monetize it. Would it work? There's four of them. As I said before, I don't know how the money might work.
And I like this move, and I actually encourage more rappers. Quit rapping, please. Quit, because y'all are making music and it's starting to become, if a tree falls in the woods, does anyone hear it? Cam still raps, but Cam does it dope now. He just drops a freestyle while he's potting. You know why? You think he want to go really get in the studio?
Yeah, Cam can still rap. There's nothing wrong with the tracks he's been releasing. But that's like a side hustle for him now, and the main hustle is the "It Is What It Is" podcast. That's his real hustle right now. That's where he's making his money, and it can work. It can work. It depends how many. Like 500,000 views could be £1,000 or $1,000. Depending how long he been talking for, and then you split them up into little segments. Release them, put them on shorts. There's money to be made there. But when there's four of you, I don't know. It depends how much everybody's getting paid, and you got sponsors. There could be money there. I mean, I sat down there. I'm looking at can't remember the guy, that Mash Hoffman guy. I mean, he used to have this barbershop and he used to interview the rappers, and I thought, wow, I see like 500,000 views. I'm thinking he's doing well. Then he's like explaining like, whoa man, we rented the whole barbershop. I'm like, whoa, that costs money. And then there's other people in there, they're doing the interviews and stuff. They want money. So everything starts to add up. So he was making good money, but with YouTube, the money is up and down. It's never always up. Some days you'll be up, some days you'll be down, and when those things happen, you need to make sure you stacked up for the winter. 'Cause I've been in those situations. I've done YouTube, and when things are good, I put that money to the side for the tax man and for emergencies. When things are bad, we're happy we stack that money to the side. So can this work? Yeah, it can work for them. How do they split the money 4 ways? Their overheads, we'll all need to see, but I don't wish anything bad on these guys. I like Fabulous. I like his punchline. He had some nice, ladies songs back in the days. Clearly, hip hop's moved on from that. He don't really do those type of songs anymore. I don't hear them. I might have been deaf. Akademiks is right. Yeah, the tree falling. Like, these guys are not really that commercially out there anymore. None of them are trying to fit in with the young crowd. They're not trying to be like Drake. So there's an audience for them, the OG hip hop heads, and those are the guys who are gonna be listening to the podcast. I want to hear what they have to talk about. It may be everyday things like what Joe and Jada talk about, or just mainstream hip hop stuff like Joe Button. It can work. It can work. But then again, I said before, I need to see how everything breaks down and see how long this will go for. Because sometimes you see people try these things and it just doesn't work out. When it does get big, everyone's fighting over the money. And if these guys were really that occupied with their hip hop personas and lifestyles, depends how much time I'm looking at how much time they have to do this. If they're jumping in there like once a week, yeah, how many of these podcasts are they gonna do, able to do? But there's 4 of them that can rotate everything around within 4 of them. Maybe one day there's all 4 of them. Then Fabulous might disappear. It might be 3 of them. Then it might be 2. It depends on the chemistry. We'll see how it turns out. Cause I like all of them. Jim Jones, as a rapper, I didn't really like him at first. He was a bit here and there-ish. But then he started to get better at rap. I don't know how it worked, but I'm sitting down and like, this guy's kind of nice now. Couldn't believe it. But anyway, I'm out.